Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli. I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, but I am a mom who's been living life with the spectrum for about 9 years now. And I can tell you, when we started this journey online, I said, you know what, we're going to be talking to a variety of people. No question too big or small to answer and tackle together. We've already talked about auditory processing. We've talked about some statistics that are the latest from the CDC and abroad. And we are fortunate that we continue to get big updates almost weekly, monthly, if you will, about children who have autism spectrum disorder. I can tell you one lady that has kind of fascinated me since the beginning of the school year, and I've wanted to talk to, is Miss Debbie Scarborough. Debbie, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. Every day's a good day.
One, I think you are just lovely. And two, I'm intrigued with your story about, well, what it is that you do. And I'd love for you to tell all of our viewers.
Well, you know what? I am very inspired every day, and I'm so lucky to do what I do. So thank you for this opportunity, number one, Gina.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome.
I started a school in 2007 when I could not find a school for my son who what they called Asperger's, which is now all considered ASD, autism
Yeah, they
spectrum
don't
disorder.
they don't diagnose Asperger's anymore.
Yeah, it's all considered ASD because there's a big scale. And
Yeah,
I always say it's like a bunch of jelly beans, right? We're all different, different sizes, colors, tastes, everything.
for sure.
Um, so when we were looking for a school for our son Stephen, who was going into the sixth grade, um, no one wanted to take a student with Asperger's. The schools that we looked at probably about 15. And here I was, this businesswoman, and I had all these other resources. And I thought, oh, this is going to be something I need to do. And we were in a public environment. And the principal came to me and she said, do you want your student to get pushed under the table, or do you want them to thrive? I said, I want them to thrive. And that's when she said, you need to look for a special needs school.
Now, Debbie, let me digress and go backwards a little bit. When
Yes.
Stephen was up until the sixth grade, did you have him in small group classes in the public school or private school that you had him in? And two, did you notice that you were bringing in the advocates for your IEPs and things like that?
Well, you've got to fight for everything as a mom, right? We just
Same.
mama bear. Right?
Yes.
So, you know what? We did pretty good in public school. We had a fantastic public school. It's all about the teacher. You have a good teacher, you have a good year,
I
right?
agree.
So I had some teachers raise their hand and say, I want Stephen. And so we got fortunate to be in an amazing public school for elementary. I knew junior high wasn't going to be an option, but I noticed that in fourth grade, things start getting a little more wonky where
So
um,
rubber hits the pavement.
exactly, because other students start noticing the differences. And so they get a little more bullying going on. They're not as kind to them.
Mm-mm.
So it's a little more noticeable. And so I
Sure.
knew that we were going to have to do something. But yes, during IEP meetings or whatever it would be, we would have to fight. He was diagnosed at 3, but he was a premature child. So a lot of people don't find out until a little bit later. My suggestion is don't get scared. We can figure this out. And that's what's most important.
So
So
what led you? So you say that once he started sixth grade, nobody, rubber hits the pavement again with social and all kinds of emotional issues. And the boys and the girls both go through puberty. So it was time to start a school specifically for kids on the spectrum.
yes. So what I wanted to do was have a school that was, I always say we're a very typical school for very untypical students.
I love it.
And that we are in a situation where we want to teach them social skills and academics. That's all we want to do. We're
Right.
not a school for a one-on-one environment. That's not who and what we're trained to do. We're a school that needs to be for students who don't need as much support that way, but certainly need support in a lot of other areas.
And the Cumberland Academy, the school has now grown in size and offers much more than social skills and academics. You guys also do after school activities. You have sports, basketball, all different kinds of things, bowling. Kids can take part of different clubs and things like this. So it really gives that inclusion feel that a child on the spectrum would get at a regular school anyway.
So our students, yeah, competing is interesting. They're good on one-on-one sports like swimming or tennis.
Sure.
So when we played basketball, we our first 5 years we didn't make a basket. We would go, please make a basket, please make a basket. And then we got really good and we won the championship. So we have a
Yes.
travel team that goes around and we compete, and it's fantastic. So not only in basketball, but track and field, bowling, as you mentioned, we compete against other schools. We compete in golf. We compete in soccer. We compete in flag football. So we have the whole spectrum of sports that we are able to compete with, as well as a ton of enrichments, taekwondo, tumbling, Dungeons and Dragons, anime clubs, all kinds of different opportunities.
And when it comes to academics, we know going to public school or university, the rigor involved with academics. I mean, I remember someone had once told me, like, listen, just to get out of high school, and I can't remember that far back for myself, you have to write like this, 30-page essay or something like that. And that's not really what a kid on the spectrum can or wants to do.
Right.
So I would imagine that the rigor at the school is at the Cumberland Academy is kind of based on that child. If we know that that child is smart beyond words, but doesn't want to sit down and write a 30-page essay, maybe a 10-page essay could do. Is that also kind of incorporated what the individual person themselves needs?
Sure, we give accommodations, so not modifications when it comes to the students who are going to go on to college, because they have to have the credits available to be able to go to college that are under the right classification. So rigor is there in a different way. So where a lot of tests or quizzes may be 50 on one page, ours are 10 per page. So, we do accommodations depending on the individual needs, as you mentioned. But, last year, every single one of our high school students was accepted into college, our graduates, as well as the year before. And we're getting there this year. We're
On
not done
track.
with our year, so we're very excited about that as well.
And that brings me to another point that I'd like to talk to you about because the Cumberland Academy, when I was searching for schools for Lyric, there's like the top 100. And then you narrow it down to where you live. And that brings you to the top 50. And the Cumberland Academy is within that top 50. Not only is it a top 50 school for children on the spectrum, but it also allows children to graduate with a Georgia certificate, not a Georgia certificate, excuse me, a Georgia diploma,
Oma.
and
Mhm.
they can take that and apply that to school. Not all special needs schools allow you to graduate with that Georgia diploma, do they?
Well, that you have to be able to have the credits. So they have to go through the rigor of our high school. So in the event, let's say that the student can't handle the rigor, which the majority of our students we can help get through. There is a class of 6 students that we have within our career prep group. And what those students do, they go on a career path and they
Okay.
go after their passion. And they get a certificate of it says a diploma with modified curriculum,
Okay.
and those students still can go to college. Like we have like 2 of them from last year, they went to KSU, but they're in a separate program within
Gotcha.
that college.
Okay,
So
so then they have a career path. They can go on to technical school, they can go on to college. Everyone that graduates the Cumberland Academy is going places.
they got to go a place. And if not, they can stay at Cumberland and do Cumberland College. So we've partnered with a new college this past year in Florida called Beacon College, which is awesome. And Shari Wright is the head of that department. And the kids can come in. They do live classes with the college, but on our campus. So there's no gap year for our kids. So we can make sure that they are attending and doing college. And then we have a work program along with that. So they're working at Publix, and they are also working at Kroger this year. So that they can take the classes, get the college credit, start so that potentially next year they'll be ready to go to college.
Yes, because sometimes, and it is true, some kids are, well, all kids on the spectrum seem to be a little socially behind and may not be ready to actually go onto a large campus. So I think this is wonderful. I didn't even know this was happening. I'm so
Oh, yeah.
happy to hear that. You know
Yes.
what? Because it's not necessarily a gap year. They are coming back to school, they're doing the college work, but then they have a little bit of another year to mature and age and know that they're going to get pushed out of the nest sometime sooner than later.
Exactly. And sometimes not only are the kids not ready, but the parents aren't ready, right? They're thinking, "Oh my goodness, how is my kiddo going to do out there?" And even if we get them ready in that way, sometimes they're still not ready for a really large campus. But there are tons of amazing college campuses out there that are really well suited for our students.
So I asked my subscribers to come up with some questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Trial by fire.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the questions was seeing the success of kids that are graduating out of the Cumberland Academy, and I know that you get to know each and every one individually. Does that kind of fuel the fire to possibly take the Cumberland Academy and expand in other metros? I know you live here in Georgia, but what about other metros? Not every single metro has a great Cumberland Academy.
They don't. We have been, I get opportunities once a month to open a school in other countries and other states all over the world. I've had people move here from Australia, from the UK to come to our school. And right now, we're expanding here and on our particular campus to be able to take more kids, but we have not had, we don't have any additional plans at this point to have an additional campus.
Well, I'm sure you'd have a lot of support if you ever did want to expand.
I think
Another question came in from a subscriber, and I really thought about this one and how I would even ask this, but I'm a straight shooter. You know this by now in the car line. Um,
sure.
have you ever had kids leave the Cumberland Academy and then come back or leave the Cumberland Academy altogether? And if so, what does that look like? And why did they choose? Did they think that they could, I don't know, maybe make it back in a more rigorous school like public school, or what has your,
We've seen a lot of different things. First of all, my hard days are when we cannot accept a child because we do have people come in here that are not right for our school. But what we don't do is just push them away and say it's not right. We give them other alternatives because we're not a one-on-one school. Have we had kids that have left and come back? We had one this year and one in our high school right now. And what happened is sometimes they think that we've gotten them ready, and because they're doing so great, but we need to finish them off and really get them completely ready to move to the next step. And then they come back. So we're happy to embrace them back. We love when they're ready to actually leave and go on. And we just say, let off you go. But the other ones that need to come back, we embrace that as well. We've had
and
some kids, unfortunately, that have not been what we thought they were. Sometimes paper doesn't show exactly who they are.
true.
And maybe there was some aggression or something to the point that Cumberland couldn't manage that. And so they have not been allowed to return back,
Now,
but very few.
one last question from a subscriber along that lines is that, say, for instance, we have a lot of viewers from all over the country that are watching this right now, Debbie. And as I said, not every metro or small town has a Cumberland Academy or has the luxury of having the Cumberland Academy. And obviously, there's no plans to expand just yet. But what would you say to the parents who are living life with the spectrum
Right.
that are looking for help or for school help, or where could you guide them even within the public school realm so that they make sure that their children are afforded every single opportunity that a normal child is afforded? Where can you go? Can you give us some direction with that?
Yes, and I think that there are a lot of schools in other states that have opened because we've now been here 15 years, and there are additional schools. However, public school, you got to fight for what you want. And also within the public schools, if you're in a specific public school that isn't doing it, that doesn't mean you can't change to another public school that you feel might be better. Maybe there's a charter school that might be better. You have that choice school
Yeah.
choice that you can, even though you live in a specific district, if you know one that's doing a better job with our kinds of kids, and you got to research that. It's a lot of work, but you got to do it, and it's so well worth it. So just keep fighting. Please feel free to send me questions. If I can be of any help, I would be more than happy to.
And, Debbie Scarborough runs the Cumberland Academy, founder. Her son, Stephen, I had the joy of meeting at one of the big events that the Cumberland Academy puts on. And he is so quite delightful and so happy to hear that he is working in the automotive industry right now, correct? And still continuing his college courses.
Well, our kids, all of our kids have a passion for something, whether it be movies, whether it be cars, whether it be construction, whether it be
Video games.
video games. Thank you very much, which a lot of them are video games. So let's give them something to do that they love their passion. So he loves cars. So he's working in the car collision business and loves it. He went to college and went to a college, could go to any college. He's bright enough to, went to a technical college that had a automotive program. He's done with that. And he now works. He drives a cool car and
He does. He drives a Corvette.
Yes. He loves Corvettes, right?
One of the best pieces of advice that I believe I shared on the first episode was that when we were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, we were told that our son would go on to drive a car, go on to college, go on and get married, go on and live as normal of a life as anyone else around him. And it's important that we continue this journey together. Miss Debbie, thank you so very much for being on Life with the Spectrum.
You know what? I love these kids. They get me to work every day. And when they come in the corner with a hoodie and when they leave here, and they're just, it's amazing. So thank you for this opportunity to share that information.
Thank you, Miss Debbie. And thank you for watching Life with the Spectrum. I'm Gina. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a mom who lives life with the spectrum. Remember, no question is too big or small. Remember, you can comment below. You can DM me on social media. Find me at Gina Cavalli. You can also email me at ginamariefm@gmail.com. We will tackle and continue to live life with the spectrum, one journey at a time, and through great people like you. Debbie Scarborough, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks,
Till
Gina.
next time, we see ya.